Joe Burrow's been ruled out, and Chris Godwin is playing this week. These are just a couple reasons I always wait until Saturday, regardless of where I'm at, to go through every single matchup to find must-start and sit receivers, and we're doing it for Week 12 right now. Just make sure to go down there, drop a like on the video, and subscribe to the channel to show your support, because I'm one of the only fantasy YouTubers who waits till Saturday to do a video like this. Now, getting into that first matchup, it's going to be the Colts at the Chiefs this week, and I've said a lot this week. I do think that the Chiefs end up winning this game, and I think that they could make Daniel Jones look like the Giants version of himself, which would be a massive problem for every one of his receivers. But that being said, I think Michael Pittman has earned a spot in must-start territory. I do think he's right there with Rashee Rice in must-start territory, while Rashee Rice is clearly, to me, the better play between the two. But I do think they're both important enough on a weekly basis, and their quarterback play has been good enough, and because Indy's offense has been so efficient this year, he belongs in must-start territory with Rashee Rice. Alec Pierce, though, he's my favorite flex of the bunch, and I actually prefer Hollywood Brown over Xavier Worthy at this point. I mean, this is just the reality. It's been a lost season for Xavier Worthy, and I've been saying this for kind of a while now. I do think that it's just kind of not been his year, and he's now dealing with a setback with this ankle injury. So I would rather just prefer Marquise Brown in a bigger game where the over-under is really big. I do think Hollywood Brown has continued to be involved even with Rashee Rice back, to the point where I think he's always flexible. I would rather play Hollywood over Worthy at this point, and I would definitely rather play Pierce over Worthy for sure. Pierce is a really good receiver. Like, he's done really well. He's been a sneaky breakout guy this year. At this point, I'm very confident putting him in my lineup as a flex. Josh Downs, like I said, if what I think comes true, and Daniel Jones is not the same guy, I think it affects Downs more than anybody, so he's my third favorite flex, but one I would still play over Xavier Worthy. The Seattle Seahawks at the Tennessee Titans is our next matchup. Jackson Smith-Njigba definitely is must start as always, because the guy is a dominant player. Rashid Shaheed and Cooper Kupp, I'd rather play over Tennessee's options. I mean, Tennessee's just so bad. And it's like literally watching like a JV football team play a varsity football team against the rest of the league. It's actually embarrassing. So if you wanted one, it would be Van Jefferson. I don't think Chimere DK is worth it, but the reality is Van Jefferson might not be worth it either. Van Jefferson is such a low-end flex play. There's so many wide receiver 2s, wide receiver 3s ahead of Van Jefferson in my personal rankings, which you can see with a premium subscription at fsroundup.com. Either way, Rashid Shaheed, Cooper Kupp, I'd much rather play them on a better offense than I'd rather play the possible wide receiver 1 on a terrible offense, which is what Van Jefferson is dealing with this week. The Minnesota Vikings at the Green Bay Packers. Justin Jefferson remains in must-start territory. I don't know why, to be honest with you guys. Like, I've been very honest and blunt about everything this week, and I'm going to continue to be that way. You don't have to start Justin Jefferson. I mean, I've got him in must-start territory, but the reality is the only reason he's in there is because if you drafted him in the first round, and you probably don't have great options behind him. Therefore, you continue to start him. But if you got lucky off the waiver wire, picked up guys like Christian Watson, picked up guys like Quentin Johnston, obviously QJ's not playing this week. But my point being is that if you've got other options you think you can get higher upside from, I don't have a problem with you benching Justin Jefferson at this point. That's the only reason he's must start, is because where you drafted him, I would imagine that he's your best option out of a lot of other options. And then Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson. I switched these guys in my rankings this week, actually this morning. And I had been really thinking about it the entirety of the week, because I think that Watson is going to struggle in this game, because I don't think he'll be able to get over the top of the Vikings like he did against the Giants. I mean, those are just way different defenses. The Vikings are good. The Giants do not have a good secondary. So I think it's a tougher game for Watson, and therefore Romeo Doubs could be the de facto better option in fantasy football this week because of the fact that he's a possession receiver for them. This is a close one either way. Honestly, I'd like to see the results of a poll on the site on this one. And then Jordan Addison, other best flex option, but he's a mid-tier guy that I have been kind of people have taken it as an insult to Addison. Look, it's got nothing to do with Jordan Addison. I love the player. I think he's great. But we all know this situation just sucks. And that's the reason Justin Jefferson could arguably be benched in certain spots. But I wouldn't start Dontavian Wicks. I would not start Matthew Golden. I don't think either of those guys are worth it at this point. But I want to go back to this Romeo Doubs versus Watson discussion. I think this is perfect to put on a poll on fsroundup.com. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to our site, type in Romeo Doubs, then go to chat, and then I'm going to go to start a poll for week 12. And I'm going to line him up with Christian Watson, and I want you to vote on this one. Go give me your honest vote. I would love to see the results of this one because I think it's close enough to where we could have a legitimate conversation about it. I'm going Doubs, but let me know if you'd go Watson in this one. And if you want to start your own poll, completely free to start it, completely free to vote on this poll. And if you want access to my top 250 rankings, the comparison feature, the waiver wire feature, and the league sync-up feature, that is with the premium subscription. But if you want to just get a full team breakdown from me, where I'll break down your team live, go through trade ideas with you, waiver ideas with you, where we can have back and forth dialogue, you can also do a team breakdown from me as well when you email us at fsroundup.com. And once that payment goes through, we'll break down your team on a live stream. The New York Jets at the Baltimore Ravens is our next matchup, and this one's kind of gross too. Zay Flowers is clearly the best play in this one, but I don't love Zay Flowers either. I mean, Zay has been a version of Justin Jefferson, except for the fact that I think his ceiling is higher. And I don't know when he's going to hit that ceiling, but someday it will come. And it could come against the Jets. I mean, the matchup is obviously there for it. We just don't know on a weekly basis what Lamar is going to do down the field. Because a lot of it has been, of course, Mark Andrews down the field lately. So Zay is still the best by default. Because Adonai Mitchell, I would say, is the wide receiver you want out of the New York Jets. And maybe it's John Mechie. I'm going to bench him because what I saw on Thursday night against the New England Patriots was that Adonai Mitchell was their wide receiver one. Getting deep targets, they were treating him as a true number one wide receiver. I believe that he will be their number one. And maybe with Tyrod Taylor, there's more effectiveness there. It is against a defense that I don't think is particularly strong in the secondary. So I do think that there's possibilities here for him to have some points. And then D-Hop, I would say, is also flexible. But again, Adonai Mitchell, D-Hop, they're more mid-tier flex options for you. The New York Giants at the Detroit Lions. Been saying all week I'm fading Giants players, but I'm definitely not fading these two Detroit guys. Amon-Ra St. Brown's a must-start always. They're going to start to work. The targets, they're going to start to work and turn into fantasy points because you just know that he's not going to be able to. Him and Goff are not going to be able to target each other 12 times in a game and only connect on 2. That was a outlier type of game last week. Amon-Ra definitely must start. Jamison Williams, a must start at this point too. Dan Campbell takes over play calling. He loves J-Mo. That's a fact. Like, he will continue to use J-Mo a lot all over the field. So Jamison Williams in this matchup, yeah, I'm in on this one. Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton, definitely higher end flex options because Jameis is now playing. No Jackson Dart, and obviously Dart would have been fine too, but the point is they don't really change. Like, their rankings didn't change for me just because it's Jameis Winston now. We know Jameis can put up points. And the reality is I think Darius Slayton could be a solid big play type of guy. But the other reality is, man, I just don't like this matchup whatsoever. I think this matchup could go awry very, very fast. And so they're nothing more than high-end flex plays. Isaiah Hodgins, you definitely put him on the bench if you even have him. I would keep an eye on him maybe to see what his involvement is like, but I think with Darius Slayton back, it's probably not going to be worth much. The Pittsburgh Steelers at the Chicago Bears. Rome Odunze to me is must start. I've heard a lot of discussion about is Jalen Ramsey a corner we're going to have to watch out for. I've seen the Steelers all year long. I've seen Jalen Ramsey. That's not a lockdown corner. He's just not. I think last week versus Jamar, a little bit of an outlier week. I think there may have been some personal stuff going on, obviously with a spit in the face. So I don't think that Rome Odunze is in tremendous danger of being locked down the entire game. I'll go Rome for sure because this pass defense is just weak. And then DK Metcalf, I mean, whatever, right? He's in the middle tier of the higher end flex starts. That's just the way he is. I mean, DK Metcalf, you could definitely get a big play. I'm sure at some point he's going to be due for a touchdown. But at the same time, man, DK has not done well enough for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Aaron Rodgers, we still don't know if he's even playing or not. So if it's Mason Rudolph, if it's Aaron Rodgers, I would say the upside is higher with Rodgers. But at the same time, they basically offer him the same level of floor, which is fine. And I do think that can be played still. So he's a middle and high tier play. That's the way I look at it from a flex standpoint. And then I would personally play Luther Burden over DJ Moore. They're exactly one spot different in my rankings, but Luther Burden starting to come up on the step chart. Ben Johnson's hyping him up. Like, it's starting to look like Luther Burden's season. So I would say this guy is a must-add waiver wire pickup right now, and definitely one I would consider playing over DJ Moore. I mean, DJ Moore is what he is. He's had a very solid floor, and I would say that his ceiling is somewhere in the realm of 20 points. I think Luther Burden, though, could get a 25-point game for you. I don't think his floor is quite as safe as DJ Moore's, but at the same time, DJ Moore has basically done nothing except hit floor games. I'll take the upside this week against a lousy pass defense, and I'm not messing with either of the Steelers wide receivers. There's just been nothing consistent that we've seen from either Roman Wilson or Calvin Austin to make this a worthwhile play. The New England Patriots at the Cincinnati Bengals is our next matchup. T. Higgins is definitely must start without Jamar Chase there. Bummer, it's not Joe Burrow, but even with Joe Flacco, we all know that he can provide fantasy upside. Now, are they going to win this game? No. But they definitely have fantasy upside with Joe Flacco like they would have with Burrow. So to me, T. Higgins is a must start. I will say, I've been saying this all week, I'm very weary of the matchup against Christian Gonzalez, who has very quickly become one of the corners that I think you need to take into account when it comes to ranking a wide receiver's matchup. This is not a good one, but I do think T. Higgins is a good enough player to be a must-start type of guy. Stephon Diggs, Kayshon Boutte. With Boutte back, it screws everything up. I prefer Diggs because I'm wondering if he's kind of solidifying a role for himself, but at the same time, Boutte has been a bigger play threat throughout the entirety of the season. So I do prefer Diggs. I think his target share might solidify, but I will say this is an unstable higher-end flex option. Same thing with Boutte. I think Boutte in this matchup, it obviously offers a great opportunity versus the Bengals defense, but at the same time, I really don't know what this team is going to look like target-wise now that Boutte is back. I think it completely throws a grenade in the whole operation, and anybody's target share is completely up for grabs. It's very hard to know exactly what to do with New England's wide receiver room, but the bottom line is this. I'm taking shots in this type of matchup versus the Bengals defense. Andre Yeshivas, he has consistently risen up my rankings this week. I see good things this week. I really do. Again, it's not just that Jamar's out. Now, T. Higgins is going to be matched up with Christian Gonzalez, making sure that there's going to be a spread out opportunity here for Yeshivas and for Noah Fant at the tight end position. I think Andre Yeshivas is a really solid flex this week. Like, he is not that far behind Kayshon Boutte and Stephon Diggs as flex options. I would say he's a relatively higher end flex that I am personally playing in one of my leagues. So I don't have a problem if you have an issue and I've got a lot of bye weeks in the league that I'm playing him in. I've got no problem putting him in the lineup. I think there's an opportunity here in a big, big way. Matt Collins, I would say, like I said, we don't know in New England. It's very hard to tell what this target share is going to boil down to, but I will say this. Matt Collins has been pretty consistently involved from a target perspective over the last month or so. I do think it's worth having him as a lower-end flex option. If you're in a deep league, like a 16 or an 18-man league, I think you could put him out there, but I would not put out Demario Douglas in this game. The Cleveland Browns at the Las Vegas Raiders. Gross options. I mean, I just don't know what else to say. They're all basically in the same spot, which is lower-end flex options. Jerry Jeudy is my clear favorite, and I'll tell you why. I know that when Dylan Gabriel has been the quarterback, it's been all about the tight ends. Well, Dylan Gabriel is not there this week. Shedeur Sanders, I don't know what he's going to do. Maybe he favors Jerry Jeudy, though. So that's why I would say he's the highest upside flex option of the bunch here, because We know Trey Tucker is going to be limited with Geno. We know Tyler Lockett is limited with Geno. We know Tillman is not usually the massive big play guy that Jerry Jeudy could be. Jerry Jeudy can take over games. This does feel like a game he could take over. So to me personally, Jeudy is the play that you would want to make out of these options. If you were to play a wide receiver in this matchup, I think it's got to be Jerry Jeudy because we know he has the ability to take over a game, and we don't know what Shedeur Sanders wants to do, and that could be a good opportunity there to take advantage of. But I will tell you this, do not play him over other starts like Christian Watson, Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, DJ Moore, Luther Burden. I would not be playing Jerry Jeudy over those types of guys. The Jacksonville Jaguars at the Arizona Cardinals. Michael Wilson to me is must start. Listen, 18 targets is not going to happen again. But 9 targets, I would say that's pretty realistic. And if that's the case, like I'm going to take a wide receiver who gets 9 targets and put him in my lineup, particularly if it's against a weaker secondary that can be taken advantage of by wide receivers, which Jacksonville can be taken advantage of. So to me, with Jacoby Brissett, he's done well enough for me to continue to justify playing pass-catching options, whoever they are. And I think Michael Wilson really showed me and proved me wrong last week that this guy is a must-start with Marvin out. I think he's a must-start this week. Jacoby Myers without Brian Thomas Jr. is definitely the best play outside of Michael Wilson. I do think that he will continue to increase his target share, possibly increase his connection and his chemistry with Trevor Lawrence. There's definitely good opportunity in this matchup for him. Cardinals defense can be beaten. I would say Greg Dortch is not a bad play either. Like, I prefer Andre Yeshivas out of wide receiver twos, but Greg Dortch I would play over Jerry Jeudy. I really would. Like, I do think that there is good opportunity here for pass catchers in Arizona this week. I think they could beat the Jags this week. It's at home. Jags are traveling to the West Coast off a massive win. And I will say this, Jags can be beaten through the air. They can be. So I do think there's a good opportunity here for Greg Dortch. Parker Washington, low-end flex, very much in the same vein of like Tyler Lockett type of guy. I would play Jerry Jeudy over Parker Washington, that's for sure. The Philadelphia Eagles at the Dallas Cowboys is our next matchup. I said it on the rankings this week. I prefer Pickens over CeeDee Lamb now. I think it's pretty clear. Like, he has the higher upside. I was wrong on this one heading into the year. I was wrong on this one for several weeks. I'm not wrong on this one anymore. Pickens is the better play than CeeDee. That being said, of course CeeDee is a must start. But having said all of that, I think this is a bad matchup for both of these guys. They are going up against a brutally tough defense. There is a world where both of them get like 10 to 12 points. I mean, there really is. But at the end of the day, you're not sitting either one of these guys, and that's what it comes down to. Devonta Smith is the better play than A.J. Brown. He just is, and I don't think people would argue with me on this one. A.J. Brown clearly has no interest in being a Philadelphia Eagle anymore, and it just shows day in and day out with his comments and just when you watch the guy on the field. Devonta Smith, even if he doesn't get the amount of targets A.J. Brown gets, like what happened last week, I'm still going to die on the hill of Devonta Smith being a better play than A.J. Brown at this point. A.J. Brown is nothing more than a high upside, deep shot to take. That's what it is. And Devonta Smith can actually dominate a game. So I would say it's not even close who I would prefer to flex in this game. And there's obviously an opportunity here, so both of them are higher upside plays. Ryan Flanoy in this matchup against Philly, I'm not going to mess with as a low-end flex option. The Atlanta Falcons at the New Orleans Saints, Olave's a stud, man. I was wrong. This guy is a really good player. He's done really well considering everything that's going on in New Orleans. And Tyler Shug, let's see if he can do it again because he played well before the bye week. So let's see if he can put together another good performance. The opportunity against Atlanta's defense, clearly there. Either way, Olave is going to get targeted out the wazoo by Tyler Shug. Darnell Mooney, guys. This one's a conversation because a lot of people just automatically assume he's a higher-end flex without Drake London there. Listen, do you remember this season when Darnell Mooney played without Drake London, and ironically Kirk Cousins was in that week against the Dolphins? He was a disaster. A disaster. So my whole thought process on all Falcons players at the wide receiver position and pass catching position, I said this with Kyle Pitts. Kirk Cousins needs to prove to me that he's not Mermaid Man first. Like, he is so bad from what I've seen from him over the last, year and a half. So I just don't think that there's that much upside with this play if you were to make it. I have to mitigate risk, and I'm being brutally honest with you guys. I would play Jerry Jeudy over Darnell Mooney. I really would. I think that Darnell Mooney is he's a mid-tier to low-tier flex option. That's the way I look at him. And I would just say that any other wide receiver in this one, you can't really think about. KC Washington, watch out for it in Atlanta. And then Devon Vele, watch out for it in New Orleans because they just cut bait with Brandon Cooks. So maybe there's an opportunity there, but good grief. Let's stop talking about this matchup. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Los Angeles Rams. This one has potential to be a high-flying Sunday night game from a fantasy perspective. You're obviously playing Puka, you're obviously playing Egbuka, and you're obviously playing Devontae Adams. But Chris Godwin is returning for this game. So what do? I am playing Tez over Chris Godwin. Tez is the higher upside player. He can get in the end zone. He's a faster player. I think from every perspective, he's a better play than Chris Godwin. Because Godwin, I think his floor is right around 4 points. I mean, this guy could get 2 catches for 20 yards, and it would not shock me. But what would really shock me is if he got 10 catches for 100 and a touchdown. That's not happening in this first game back. This guy's had a bruised and battered injured season, and I don't want much to do with it. He's a mid-tier flex option for me, and I think if you really want to start him, you need to put this to the test in polls on our site because I think a lot of people would advise you to not play him in the community. And that's exactly the way I feel about it. I think you can play him if you're really desperate and you just want an 8-point game or a 10-point game, but do not expect a 20-point game from Chris Godwin against the Rams defense. And I think his return makes Sterling Shepard pretty much irrelevant in this offense. That's the biggest effect that it has on anybody, in my opinion. The Carolina Panthers at the 49ers, Monday Night Football. Ted McMillan is must start. This opportunity, this matchup, I think is fantastic. I think he could definitely do some good things in this game. I'm going to say this. Maybe, just maybe, and I'm not even sure, maybe if Ricky Pearsall doesn't do anything again, I'll start to consider putting Juwan Jennings over Ricky Pearsall. But my opinion is pretty clear, and it's very simple when you put it this way. Ricky is just a higher upside player. He just is. Juwan Jennings' upside this year, 17 points. I think Ricky can give you 25. So I think it's very clear that last week was a work-back game. Didn't get many targets, but was on the field a bunch. And that's what matters when you come to our site and check out these numbers for free. Snap counts, routes run, those are bottom-line metrics that Ricky Pearsall was in on last week. That's why I believe against the Panthers on Monday night, he'll be a better flex play than Juwan Jennings. But either way, I'd play Jennings over Leggett. And only because Jennings is just a more involved player. Leggett is the guy that can give you 20 points and he can give you 0. So I guess it just depends. Do you need an upside play or do you need a floor play? Because if you need floor, Jennings is the better option. And if you need upside, Leggett is definitely the better option. So let me know what your wide receiver room looks like in the comments below. And if you want to see the full top 30 wide receiver rankings on the week, click on this video right here.